On the morning of the appointed Thursday, the thresher set out on his journey. Fear was a stranger to him, yet he remembered the devil's warning and decided to learn what he could about the ruined castle before nightfall. Toward midday, he stopped at an inn to rest his legs and eat a simple meal. While he sat by the fire, he asked the innkeeper whether he knew anything about the old castle on the hill, who had built it, and how it had fallen into ruin. At the mention of the castle, an elderly farmer seated nearby slowly turned his head. "I know the story," he said. The room fell quiet. The old man leaned closer to the fire before speaking. "They say that hundreds of years ago, a wealthy lord lived in that castle. His land stretched farther than the eye could see, and his riches were beyond counting. But he was a cruel man. He worked his people without mercy and grew rich on their suffering. Wagons loaded with silver and gold arrived at the castle from every corner of the land. The treasure was hidden deep beneath the castle in underground vaults where no thief could ever reach it." The old farmer paused. No one knows how the Lord met his end. One morning, his servants entered his chamber and found only 3 drops of blood on the floor. The bed was empty, and at the head of it sat a large black cat. A cat none of them had ever seen before. The fire crackled softly. The old man's voice dropped almost to a whisper. The servants believed the old evil one himself had come for the Lord. They said he had taken the form of that black cat, strangled the wicked man like a mouse, and dragged his soul away to answer for every evil deed he had done. The listeners exchanged uneasy glances. When the Lord's relatives arrived to claim their inheritance, they searched the castle from top to bottom. They found nothing, not a single coin. At first they accused the servants of theft. The poor souls were dragged before a judge and questioned again and again. Some were even tortured, but none confessed. Because there was nothing to confess. The farmer stared into the flames. Then people began hearing strange sounds. At night, when the castle should have stood silent, the ringing of coins echoed beneath the earth. A few brave men went looking for the treasure. None ever returned. The room remained silent. Outside, the wind rattled against the windows. After that, the farmer continued, everyone knew that something evil had taken possession of the place. No one dared live there. The years passed. The roof collapsed. The walls crumbled. Rain and wind finished what time had begun. And little by little, the castle became nothing more than a heap of ruins. He looked directly at the thresher. Even now, no one in their right mind would climb that hill after dark. Not for all the treasure in the world. The thresher smiled. What if someone wished to try his luck? The reaction was immediate. Several farmers crossed themselves. Others shook their heads. One of them spoke for all. Our lives are worth more than gold. The treasure isn't meant for the living. And whatever guards, it is not something a man should meet. The villagers urged him to abandon the idea. They warned him not to meddle with dark powers, not to challenge whatever haunted the ruins. But the fearless thresher listened politely and remained unconvinced. He had already made his decision. As evening approached, he bought a bundle of pine splints from the innkeeper to use as torches. Then he asked for directions to the castle. One of the farmers, perhaps a little braver than the rest, offered to guide him part of the way. Carrying a lantern, he walked beside the thresher through the gathering darkness. Neither man spoke much. The hill loomed ahead. The ruined castle stood against the evening sky like a broken crown. At last, when they were still half a mile from the ruins, the farmer stopped. "I'll go no farther." The thresher nodded. The farmer turned around and hurried back toward the distant lights of the inn. Soon those lights vanished behind the trees. The thresher was alone. Night had settled fully over the land. Clouds drifted across the moon. The wind moaned through the forest. Somewhere in the darkness, an owl called. But none of it troubled him. He pressed on toward the ruined castle, and before long, the black shape of the ancient ruins rose before him beneath the moonlit sky.